Welcome to the Producer's Journal podcast. My name is Derek. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is my way of sharing my stories and experiences as a podcast producer and a podcast production agency owner, hoping that you may learn from my mistakes and wins. Try to keep you up to date in real time on my status of my studio and my business as a whole, but also try to give you a nugget of wisdom or information. This episode is presented to you by Shelby Row Productions, shelbyrow.productions.com, Instagram, Shelby Row Productions LLC. And if you want to help support this podcast, go down to the description, click on the Patreon link, and sign up for our tip jar tier. I would appreciate it. It would help tremendously. All right, let's do an epic fade and get started here. So, the last episode, I was talking about lighting and some more studio stuff, and I'm sorry if you're sick of hearing it, but that's kind of what is going on in this world right now with me. So I ordered a nice ring light from Amazon to test. I got my desk or my podcast table in place. I have the mics hooked up, the audio all geared in and ready to go. And now I'm just trying to figure out the camera situation. I have three kind of knockoff GoPros that were supposed to be mounted, but my room is just not going to cooperate with that. With the real estate of wall space that I have is limited because each wall has either a giant window or a door. So it's just a tricky room. So I finally decided that it's okay to use tripods again. And mainly want to focus on one camera right now, and that's the straight shot, the two shot. Ideally, I want each participant to have its camera too, so it should be a 3-camera deal, which it still could very well be. But before I get crazy on all three, I want to get one camera working with the right lighting or the best I can get under my circumstances. So I decided that let's try a ring light. Bought a cheapy one at Walmart just so I could test one, try to use one, feel it, touch it, knowing that I was going to return it, and I did because it was a cheapy Walmart ring light. Then I knew what I wanted, went on Amazon, found what I wanted, and ordered it. And what I loved about this, there was two things that I really liked about this ring light. Three. The light was 18 inches. It's a big light, round. Awesome options for mounting. All the different mounts that you can use for anything. So that was awesome. That was important to me. But the critical part that I loved about this ring light was it takes batteries, like rechargeable battery packs, not your AA's or 9 volts or anything like that. Rechargeable packs, which is massive because I don't have to try to find outlets. My outlets are pretty maxed out. I don't want a daisy chain, from one power strip to another. So I'm limited on outlets I have at this point. So with that said, also it makes it more mobile, which is the reality I had to come to grips with. In order for me to operate this studio for both audio podcasting, video-based podcasting, or just video production, I need to be flexible and be able to move stuff, and it just is what it is. So how awesome would it be to have a ring light on a tripod that doesn't have any kind of cable coming from it? And then maybe it works out where now I have 3 ring lights with the 3 cameras, and I'm getting my multi-camera podcast the way I want it, and no plugs, no cables. That is awesome. So I pulled the trigger on it. It was like $110, and then like $25 for the batteries. Of course, they don't come with the batteries. I have a small issue with the batteries, but I'll get to that. So 2 days later, bam, the stuff is in. I love it. The batteries took 24 hours. The light was 48. I was so excited to set this thing up. I finally moved the box into the studio. I open up the first box, and inside that box was the actual box for the item. And I could see in one of the sides of the ring light box is just a huge gouge. Like someone slammed it as hard as they could against the corner of a wall, and it just gouged, just tore up this box. I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good. Sure enough, I pull out the ring light, and it's busted right in half. I'm like, dang it. And I was so frustrated. I was so excited, but now I'm almost like, this is going to be a headache. But I still gave me an opportunity to see this product, and I'm not blaming the product for the issue. Clearly someone was careless, because this thing took a hit. If you saw the box. So I felt like it was still a very good sturdy product. I loved all the mounting options, the tripod, everything was great. I'm like, all right, this sucks. It just is what it is. And I know that I got the right thing. The only thing I couldn't test is the brightness of the light, and if it's actually going to do what I hope it does for me. But you got to give it to Amazon. There's a reason why they're, so big and such a popular place to go, right? There's 1,000 reasons why, but when you have to return something, it's so easy. And then my local FedEx is tied in with Amazon. So it's literally like a 1 to 2 minute drive for me to FedEx to return something. If you never return anything with Amazon, you just go on their website, you find your order, you click return item, and then it asks why. And usually my thing is clothes are too small or don't fit, or not what I expected, or just something kind of bland. Then they create a QR code for you. They email it to you, print it out, or you can just show the person at FedEx your phone, whatever. They scan that QR code and give you a receipt. Done. So easy. Well, this is the first time I have to report a broken item. Same process. Hit return item, and then when it asks why, then I chose damaged. And then it immediately sent me down this different path, asking me, more details on the damage and what I would like to do. I had two options: return it for a refund, like normal, or order same item immediately. So I just clicked on that button, hit submit, and bam, just like that, I put in a new order, 48 hours, gave me the return QR code, and gave me 30 days to return it. Easy. And I just went ahead and returned it. So the broken ring light is gone, like it never existed. The only issue is I have to wait another 2 days, which, as the day I record this, I should get it tomorrow, because this happened yesterday. So there's that. Still waiting for the ring light situation, and I'll keep you updated on that. Another interesting update is I got a phone call from the sales area and marketing director. Her name is Heather, and she's the director for Wesley Meadows Retirement Community here in Hernando. Now, the connection between them and me is because of the Real Hernando podcast. I had her and this other lady by the name of Jamie on an episode to help promote them. And which, ironically, their episode is dropping this coming Tuesday. Well, you're listening to this on publish day, which is a Monday. Tomorrow it's going out. But I've struck a relationship with them. They're really nice. They could potentially sponsor the podcast. So there's a lot of business stuff kind of going on with them too. But out of nowhere, Heather calls me yesterday and asks me if I would be willing to do something for them. And what it is be a part of their 60th anniversary celebration for the company. And for me to have my own booth, and that the event is Dr. Seuss themed. And that's all I got. And I'm like, of course I said yes, because I do want to help them, but we're scratching each other's back, and this is what community is about. And ultimately, I'm out there in front of people. But how do I incorporate Shelby Road Productions and The Real Hernando on a booth that's Dr. Seuss themed? This just happened yesterday. I still have to process this. I haven't told anyone this yet, at least as far as up to the point of recording this. It's October 22nd, the event. So I have a month to kind of figure out what the hell I want to do with this. They couldn't give me really any idea of what these booths are going to be like. I thought maybe set up a camera so I can interview people, throw it up on Facebook, go live. She said, maybe you can just come up with some games to play. I'm like, okay, what are we going to play? Go fish? So you're going to hear a lot about this thing for sure. I'll keep you updated on this as that happens. But every ounce of information I just gave you is all I got. And now I have to sit back and really figure out some ideas on how this is going to work. So there it is. I'm going to have a booth at a anniversary party at a retirement community where the average age is 70 years old, and somehow incorporating Dr. Seuss. Possibly having to wear like Dr. Seuss clothes. I don't know. Feels like Halloween to me, but we'll see how that goes. All right. Today's topic is something that's more real time as well. And that's about losing a team member. And there's obviously different ways to lose a team member. You can fire them outright, or they can quit on good terms, or they can be no-shows. I mean, there's obviously a spectrum of ways that people leave a job. But in this situation, I want to be sensitive to names and people and everything. So let's pretend this person's name is Cleopatra. And Cleopatra was some form of an assistant for me. And Cleopatra started working for me quite a while ago to help me manage things. I'm trying to keep this as ambiguous as possible. But the moral of the story is communication and lack thereof. I kind of knew early on that Cleopatra wasn't the best at communicating. And I'm trying not make this a hit piece here, but I'm just giving you the details and context of this relationship. So I gave Cleopatra a chance. I'm going to say she, because Cleopatra is a female, right? She came in with all the good intentions. And we hit it off. I really liked her. I mean, still like her. I mean, she's not a bad person. Let me just say this. But I could tell that communication was not Cleopatra's forte. And had pretty strong boundaries on time, which I like. More now than ever, I love boundaries. I'm getting better and better and better at creating boundaries. And as an entrepreneur, boundaries are good. And she had some healthy boundaries. She really knew how to balance life with work. The problem is when you say Friday I don't work past 3, and then I'm done for the weekend or whatever. I get that. Okay, great. Good for you, by the way. But when you're an assistant and you're handling things and often receiving emails from clients that need to be addressed, there's some tasking that needs to go out to team, but then those emails are coming in at 3:30 on Friday. Well, I'd appreciate it if you still kind of help me out there. But instead it's out, which I have to respect. None of my team members are actual employees, so I have to respect that. It's your thing. But let me know when you're not going to open up your email for 3 days. And that was always really frustrating. But I let it slide. This is my mistake. I just let it go. I'll tell you what I also did or didn't do is I stopped giving Cleopatra more work. At some point, I was like, all right, Cleopatra is doing X, Y, and Z. That's it. No longer pushing stuff that way to that person because it was just not going to work out. But I hung on because I needed that help. And I just didn't want to put new stuff on this person's plate. Well, over time, some of this stuff was organically leaving. Clients that she helped me with certain things stopped working with us. They go in-house. They don't want to do their podcast anymore. There's all kinds of different reasons why you lose clients. It's part of the deal. It's part of the business. Nothing tragic. So her responsibilities kept diminishing and going down and down and down. And then finally, there was another communication snafu. And you never know how things come across through text or email, but I definitely voiced some frustration and made it pretty known that I would have appreciated some communication on something that ultimately garnered a mistake. Not only one mistake, but a series of mistakes on the same client. And again, I blame myself for not nipping this in the bud when I should have, but I finally had to. And I finally said, look, this task over here, you don't have to worry about it anymore. I got this. Because the client consistently sends us stuff on Friday. And I already discussed Friday. But this client's also really good at sending this file on Friday at a decent hour, well before 3 p.m. And it has not been tended to accordingly. So I said, I'm doing it now. Told her, don't worry about it. I got this. Once Cleopatra lost that one task, she was down to one little thing. And I was going to still let her roll with that because why not? And this is, there's ways to, and I'm doing air quotes, fire a client. As a side note, you can flat out say, I don't want to work with you anymore for these reasons, or you can ask for more money and be ridiculous with it almost. Like say you're averaging $40 an hour for this client. You can be like, hey, starting next month, I have to go up to $80 an hour. Two things are going to happen. A, they're going to say, okay, thanks, no thanks, and move on, which is kind of what you want because you're sick of working with this person. Or they're like, okay, I hope you deliver, but I'll agree to the $80 an hour. Well, now that headache's a little easier to deal with, isn't it? So that's why you have the leverage. But you're going into it fully prepared to not have this client anymore. I was sort of using the same process with Cleopatra. I didn't want to fire anybody, but I was not giving anything new. And it's been a long time since I've given this person anything new. So it was more like, I'll let her work until she's done and she wants to move on. And that's what happened. And she understood why. I didn't even have to prompt it. She's like, I'm sorry for this, that, and the other thing. But I'm just down to doing one thing. And I think it's just best that I move on. I was like, yes, thank you. Can you make a tutorial video on the last thing that you do so that I can do it? Thanks for your help. I wasn't totally cold, but I certainly wasn't, no, please, no. What am I going to do without you? No, it was just time to go. What's weird about talking about this is I know of at least 2 team members that listen to this now. At least they peek in. My engineer, Andrew, my main man editor, PJ. If you're listening, what's up, guys? This story is not about you. But it is what it is, and I've had to let go of an editor back in the day, because mistakes were being made in a big, big way. And this kind of brings me to the main point. Communication, but trust. You need to trust someone to do things for you that are directly connected to a client. Like, you're giving them some responsibility. If they drop the ball, then it will affect the client without me in the mix. I can't be in the mix with everything. So you just trust that your employee will just say, knows what to do with the client. And here's an example of the past issue I had with the editor. This editor was responsible for editing and uploading and scheduling this client's podcast. I have to trust that's going to get done right. He's been trained. Everything is going well. And it's commonplace for my editors to do this stuff for me. And out of nowhere, mistakes started happening. Not uploaded on time. And this is when it finally hit the fan here. Is he mixed in an intro from a different podcast on this client's podcast. That's such a bad no. And it happens. I trust. I don't know. And it's the client discovering the mistake and then coming to me. And that's the worst kind of email, call, text that you can get from a client. It's like, hey, what is going on? There's a major mistake here. Why? And then me, as the agency owner and head producer, boss, whatever you want to call it, has to go, before I say anything, I have to then sit there and go, I don't know. I don't know why this happened. So let me find out. And it really, really can frustrate me. And then I have to take a hit. I can't throw anyone under the bus, because ultimately it is absolutely my fault. Because if that continues to happen, it's up to me to fix it, whether it's coming up with a different system or firing this person and everything in between. It's all on me, and I get it. And I've always taken the hit. I've always taken it on the chin, and then just try to give that customer service to the client with an apology. There's been a couple times where things were pretty egregious, and I was like, all right, this episode is free for you. We got this. And the client was like, cool, appreciate it. So you have to trust somebody. And it's hard. And one of the realizations I had early on is, and the 2 guys I just mentioned from my team that listen to this are part of my Rockstar core. You guys are, and you know that. I'll let you know that if you guys are listening. And they're a part of a few other people that are just pillars. And they just kick so much ass for me. Even then, though, and this is not a knock on them, it's still not their business. They're not going to have the same passion and dedication that I will have. No one will. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it's hard for you guys to know who I'm talking about, but there's half a dozen people on my team that really get it and support me and support this mission and support this business and really just deliver for me. Top notch. But still, that doesn't mean that they're going to respect and have as much passion as I do for this business, because it's not theirs. And they shouldn't. They're doing everything they need to be doing. They are rock stars. But I'm the owner. And that's a special relationship that only the owner of a business can have. So I had to come to that realization that, look, maybe try to be a better leader. There's leadership skills that can really pull in and make a team buy into your mission and get as much ownership as possible, so they're really just fighting for you, tooth and nail. I guess I'm not that kind of leader. I don't want to be that leader. I don't know. I just lead as I feel fit. I'm learning as I go. But I'm the one that's going to love this business the most. I'm the one that's going to care the most because it's mine. And I have to sit back sometimes and not take it personally when I feel like someone working for me doesn't take it as seriously. And I've got really good with that because I just get it. So you, agency owner, listening to this, just understand that no one is going to love your business as much as you, period. And you have to be flexible with that and allow people to be people. People make mistakes, and don't take it personally. If they make a mistake, they made a mistake. They're not disrespecting you. But once in a while, it does fall into disrespect when it comes to lack of communication. If I email someone or tag someone in Slack or whatever, I don't need you to answer me within minutes or even hours. But don't take 2 days. Just communicate. So any freelancers out there that are listening to this, communicate with your clients. Just let them know what's up. If they ask you a question, for sure answer it, but also stay ahead of it. If you see that you're going to need a couple days off in the following week, and it might throw the timeline and system off a little bit, get ahead of it. Tell your client's going to be like, okay, we'll work through this, no problem. But don't just ghost or sit on your hands and let it become an issue because of lack of communication. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking in circles at this point. I try to keep these at 20 minutes. I just can't do it. And this was a little ranty, but look, I mean no disrespect either. This person was nice. It's one of those deals that you have to kind of deal with as a air quote boss, I guess. But again, if you're an agency owner, try to get in front of things. And if you see an issue, fix it instead of letting it go on too long. Be upfront. And to the team members and freelancers out there, just communicate. That's all we ask for. Look, you can email while sitting on the toilet. There's absolutely no excuse to say that you can't respond to an email or a text when you can get on your phone and thumb your way through Facebook while taking a shit. ShelbyRoweProductions.com, Instagram at Shelby Rowe Productions LLC. Check out the Patreon link. That would be super helpful, and your support would go a long way. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. and we will talk to you again later. Bye.